The ruined colony was quiet, too quiet for a place that once held thousands of lives. Broken towers leaned like tired giants. Metal roads were split open, and the air smelled of dust and old fire. This was the kind of place everyone avoided. A lone human walked through the ruins. He was a wanderer, moving from system to system, looking for scrap, food, and water. His clothes were worn. His ship was small and old. He did not belong to any army, any planet, or any race. He survived because humans learned how to survive anywhere. He stopped near a collapsed building and scanned the area. Nothing moved. No signals. No life signs. Then he heard it. A sound so small and weak that at first he thought it was the wind. A cry. The human froze. The cry came again, thin and scared, echoing through the broken metal. It was not human. It was higher, softer. Like a child, most beings would have walked away. This sector was dangerous. After the last war, strange creatures hunted here. And aliens believed humans were monsters. Helping an alien child could mean death. The human tightened his grip on his tool and followed the sound. Inside the collapsed building, shadows covered everything. A broken wall suddenly shifted. Sharp metal fell. The human jumped forward. Under the rubble, he saw her. A small alien girl. She was no taller than his chest, with pale blue skin and glowing eyes filled with fear. Her clothes were torn. One of her legs was trapped under a heavy metal beam. She cried when she saw him. She tried to crawl away. "Easy," the human said softly. He lowered himself slowly, keeping his movements calm. He knew fear. He lived with it every day. The girl shook, her hands glowing faintly with weak energy. She was too tired to fight. The human lifted the metal beam with a grunt. Pain shot through his arms, but he did not stop. He pulled her free and wrapped his jacket around her small body. She stopped crying. Her glowing eyes stared at him. He expected her to scream again. Instead, she whispered something in her alien language. He did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. Relief. Suddenly, a screech echoed through the ruins. A wild predator crawled from the shadows, its body sharp and fast. The human turned and stood between the creature and the child without thinking. The creature lunged. The human moved. Years of survival kicked in. One strike, then another. The predator fell and did not move again. The alien girl watched everything. Her small hands grabbed the human's jacket. He carried her out of the ruins and toward his ship. The colony lights flickered as if the place itself was dying. Inside the ship, he gave her water and food paste. She ate slowly, still watching him, as if afraid he might disappear. "Safe," she said in broken words. He blinked. "Safe?" She nodded and touched his chest. "Safe one." The human looked away, uncomfortable. No one had called him that before. As the ship lifted off. Far above the colony, something else moved, deep in space. Massive shapes turned. Warships. Hundreds of them, black and sharp, like blades cutting through the stars. A cold female voice echoed across the fleet. "Change course. My child has been found." The ships accelerated. Back in his small ship, the human did not see them. He focused only on the quiet breathing of the alien girl asleep beside him. He did not know who she was. He did not know who her mother was. And he did not know that by saving one small life, he had just placed himself between humanity and a coming invasion. The human ship floated silently above the ruined colony, carrying its small, fragile passenger. The alien girl, still trembling, clung to him like she would disappear if he let go. Her glow dimmed with exhaustion, but her eyes never left his face. He studied her carefully. Even in the dim light of the ship, he could see she was different. Her skin was smooth, pale blue, almost like polished stone. Her hands were small, but faint energy pulses flickered along her fingertips. Whatever species she belonged to, she was powerful. And very young. Where's your home? He asked gently. She did not answer. She only shivered. He realized she was lost. Not just in space, but lost in life. The human remembered the warnings he had heard before, whispers from travelers and traders. Do not touch the children of that race, they had said. They are too dangerous. They're mothers. They kill without mercy. He ignored the warning. He had never been someone to follow rules. He survived by making choices for himself. And right now, the choice was simple: protect this child. He secured the girl on a soft seat, giving her a blanket to keep warm. She looked at him, confused, then slowly relaxed. He could see trust slowly building in her tiny eyes as they traveled. He tried to learn more. He spoke softly, asking questions in basic phrases. Her words were strange, musical, and difficult to repeat. But gradually he understood small things: her name, her fear, and that she wanted her mother. Your mother? He said carefully. She nodded, her eyes wide with longing. Mama, she whispered. He felt a pang of worry. He did not know if this mother was kind or cruel. But one thing was certain: the child needed protection now, not explanations. Hours passed, and the human scanned the nearby space. His scanners picked up signals he could not ignore. Large ships moving fast, approaching the colony. He froze. Not good, he muttered. He did not want to scare her, so he kept his voice calm. But inside, his mind raced. He knew the reputation of her kind. Their mothers were not ordinary aliens. They were commanders, leaders of forces that could crush worlds. The child sensed his tension. She reached out for his hand. Small, warm, and trusting. He squeezed back, silently promising her he would not let anything happen. Suddenly, a warning beep echoed through the ship. He leaned over the controls. Hundreds of contacts appeared on the scanner, all moving fast, all directed toward the colony. The human's heart pounded. They're coming, he said softly, more to himself than the girl. The alien girl tilted her head, confused. She did not understand danger, only that he was worried. He clenched his fists. There was no choice. He could not run. Not with her, so he did the only thing he could. He hid her, deep in the ship, and prepared himself. If the ships reached the colony, he would face whatever came. And he would fight. Not for glory. Not for humans. But for her. Time moved slowly. Every second felt like a heartbeat counting down to disaster. He checked the child again. She was watching him with cautious eyes. You're safe, he whispered. He did not know if he believed it himself. Outside, the massive fleet grew closer. Ships of black metal and sharp edges, moving like predators through space. Their numbers were overwhelming. And somewhere among them, he knew, was her mother. The human did not yet know her name, her title, or her plans. All he knew was this: the child depended on him. And he would not fail. For the first time in a long time, he felt something stronger than fear. Something human. Hope. He took a deep breath and gripped the controls. The child rested against his chest. And as the fleet's shadows darkened the colony below, he whispered silently, "No one will take you. Not today. Not ever." The ship's engines roared. The human and the little alien girl moved forward into the unknown, unaware of the storm that was already heading their way far above the colony. The black warships moved like a living shadow. Their engines pulsed in perfect rhythm, and the stars seemed to bend around them. At the center of the fleet, on the largest command ship, stood a figure that made the human's heart race, even though he did not know her yet. She was tall, regal, and cold. Pale blue skin, sharp features, and eyes that glowed like molten metal. Every being in her presence trembled not from anger, but from fear itself. She was the mother of the child the human had saved. And she commanded thousands of soldiers who would obey her without question. "Even to death, report," she said. Her voice was smooth, almost gentle, but it carried the weight of a storm. "Mother," one officer spoke, bowing low. "The child has been found. Alive, but she is with a human. A lone human." Her glowing eyes narrowed. A human, alone, that small, fragile species that she had always considered weak, pitiful, yet capable of destroying anything that stood in their way. A flicker of curiosity passed over her face. "Prepare the strike team," she said calmly. "The colony must be secured." The child returned, and the human neutralized. Her words were simple, but the soldiers around her knew the meaning. Kill anyone who resists. Below, in the ruined colony, the human ship floated silently, unaware of the storm above. The child slept quietly, her small hands curled around the human's jacket. He watched her with quiet admiration. She had survived so much, and yet she trusted him completely. He did not know her mother was watching. He did not know that the very same fleet was racing toward him, on the command bridge. The mother's eyes lingered on the screen showing the child inside the human ship. She studied the small figure, so fragile, so innocent, and yet there was something in her gaze that made the mother pause. The human had done what she never expected. He had protected her child, her hands clenched. Power, anger, and fear swirled inside her chest. How could a human, a weak, fragile human, come between her and her child? How could one small being survive where armies failed? She leaned forward. "Send the retrieval team," she commanded. "But proceed with caution. Observe him. Learn how he dares to defy me." The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. They had never been told to hesitate. But the mother's orders were absolute. They moved, but carefully, not daring to provoke him too soon. Back in the ship, the human was unaware of the calculations being made above him. He prepared for any. Far above the colony, the black warships moved like a living shadow. Their engines pulsed in perfect rhythm, and the stars seemed to bend around them. At the center of the fleet, on the largest command ship, stood a figure that made the human's heart race, even though he did not know her yet. She was tall, regal, and cold. Pale blue skin, sharp features, and eyes that glowed like molten metal. Every being in her presence trembled not from anger, but from fear itself. She was the mother of the child the human had saved, and she commanded thousands of soldiers who would obey her without question. "Even to death, report," she said. Her voice was smooth, almost gentle, but it carried the weight of a storm. "Mother," one officer spoke, bowing low. "The child has been found. Alive, but she is with a human. A lone human." Her glowing eyes narrowed. A human, alone, that small, fragile species that she had always considered weak, pitiful, yet capable of destroying anything that stood in their way. A flicker of curiosity passed over her face. "Prepare the strike team," she said calmly. "The colony must be secured." The child returned, and the human neutralized. Her words were simple, but the soldiers around her knew the meaning. Kill anyone who resists. Below, in the ruined colony, the human ship floated silently, unaware of the storm above. The child slept quietly, her small hands curled around the human's jacket. He watched her with quiet admiration. She had survived so much, and yet she trusted him completely. He did not know her mother was watching. He did not know that the very same fleet was racing toward him, on the command bridge. The mother's eyes lingered on the screen showing the child inside the human ship. She studied the small figure, so fragile, so innocent, and yet there was something in her gaze that made the mother pause. The human had done what she never expected. He had protected her child, her hands clenched. Power, anger, and fear swirled inside her chest. How could a human, a weak, fragile human, come between her and her child? How could one small being survive where armies failed? She leaned forward. "Send the retrieval team," she commanded. "But proceed with caution. Observe him. Learn how he dares to defy me." The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. They had never been told to hesitate. But the mother's orders were absolute. They moved, but carefully, not daring to provoke him too soon. Back in the ship, the human was unaware of the calculations being made above him. He prepared for any danger, but he had no idea what force was heading his way. His mind focused only on the child's safety. Hours passed. The child stirred, opening her glowing eyes. She looked at him, confused and scared. "Don't worry," he whispered. "No one will hurt you." Her small hands touched his cheek. For a moment, he felt an unspoken connection, a bond formed not by words, but by trust and survival. Far above, the mother watched them through her fleet sensors. Her fingers hovered over the control panels. She could strike at any moment. End this human's defiance with a single order. Yet, something held her back. Curiosity? Respect? Or fear of what humans were capable of when pushed to protect those they loved? She made her choice. She would not strike yet. Instead, she would watch. Study him. Test him. The human tightened his grip on the controls. The engines hummed as he navigated toward open space. Unaware that the storm of black warships above him was not just an accident of fate, it was a calculated test. The mother's voice echoed in the silent bridge. Almost to herself, "If he survives what comes, perhaps. Humans are more dangerous than I ever imagined." And so the first move had been made, but the game had only just begun. The fleet moved silently. Shadows fell across the colony. And far below, a lone human and a small alien girl sailed into the unknown, carrying the fragile hope of survival. And the spark of something far greater. The fleet hung like a black cloud above the colony. The human's small ship moved carefully, scanning the empty ruins below. He did not know the full force of what was coming. He only knew he had to protect the child at all costs. Inside the ship, the alien girl clung to him tightly. Her small hands gripped his jacket. She was quiet now, too scared to speak. Every sound, every movement, made her flinch. He tried to reassure her with soft words. "You're safe," he whispered, though he could feel the tension in the air. Suddenly, a shadow fell over the ship. The human looked up and saw massive silhouettes blocking the sunlight. Warships, hundreds of them, hovered above, engines glowing. They were so large that they could crush his tiny vessel like a toy. He froze. A transmission crackled through his ship. The voice was cold, commanding, and familiar. "Human," it said. "Step out. Leave the child. Surrender yourself." It was her, the mother. The alien general. The human swallowed hard. He glanced down at the child. She was staring up at him, confused, trusting him completely. He could not leave her. He could not kneel. "Not happening," he muttered under his breath. The ship shook slightly as the fleet moved closer. Soldiers' ships surrounded him, forming a ring. The human's heart pounded. Every instinct told him to fight, run, or hide. But the instinct that mattered most now was protect her. The transmission came again. "You will kneel, human, or the child dies." He looked at the girl's glowing eyes, filled with hope and fear. He swallowed his fear and said, calmly but firmly, "I will not kneel. Not for you. Not for anyone." A silent pause followed. Then, unexpectedly, the general's voice softened, not with kindness, but with curiosity. "Very well," she said. "If you will not kneel, then you must prove yourself. A trial will decide if your species deserves to exist in this galaxy. Survive it, and the child remains safe." The human stared. A trial? Against what? He had no weapons, no army, just his wits, his courage, and the small child he swore to protect. "You will leave the ship," she continued. The trial begins on the surface. Your endurance, your choices, will be judged. He knew the trial would be dangerous. The mother's reputation was fearsome. Many had faced her challenges before and failed. But he could not back down. The child whispered something. Her voice trembled. Please, human, do not leave me. He held her close, brushing her glowing hair back. I'm not leaving you, he said. I will protect you, no matter what comes. Outside, the alien soldiers prepared traps, weapons, and tests designed to destroy him. He stepped out of the ship, feeling the rough ground beneath his boots. The colony, once dead and quiet, now seemed alive with challenges. Every shadow might hide danger. Every sound could mean attack, and from above, the general watched silently. Her eyes were sharp, calculating. She did not know if he would survive, but she would see. She wanted to understand this human's strength, his determination. The human took a deep breath and began moving forward. Each step was measured. Each glance was cautious. But in his heart, he knew one truth. He would endure, not for glory, not for honor, but for the small alien girl who trusted him with her life. The first challenge came swiftly, a narrow path lined with glowing energy barriers. Touching them would fry a human body instantly. Many had failed this stage before. He looked down at the child, imagining her fear if she had to face it. He thought of her small hands and trusting eyes. He would not fail. The trial had begun. And in the silent, ruined colony, a human stood firm against impossible odds, showing a courage no alien had ever expected. Somewhere above, the mother leaned forward, intrigued. Perhaps humanity was more dangerous than she had ever imagined. The trial had begun. The human moved carefully across the alien ruins, aware of every shadow and every flicker of movement. The air was thick with tension. Energy barriers hummed around him, and traps clicked faintly under the broken metal floor. Each step could be his last dot above. The alien general watched silently. Her fleet hovered like a storm ready to strike, but she remained calm. She wanted to see the limits of human endurance. How far would this fragile species go to protect one small life? The human adjusted his stance. The alien girl's face appeared in his mind. Her small hands, her glowing eyes, her whispered, "Safe one." He would endure. The first test was physical. A series of energy blades swung in irregular patterns across the narrow corridor. One mistake, and the human would be shredded. He timed his movements carefully, ducking, rolling, and sprinting with precision born of survival instincts. The blades scratched his clothes, but he avoided serious injury. The next trial was mental. Holograms appeared, showing visions of the child in danger, trapped, or hurt. Alien voices whispered threats, promising pain and death. He felt panic rise, but he forced himself to focus. He would not let fear control him. "You survive this for her," he whispered under his breath. "For her safety, not for anyone else." Hours passed. The trials became harsher. Alien soldiers blocked his path, weapons glowing. Toxic gas hissed from vents. Collapsing floors threatened to swallow him whole. Each challenge was designed to break him, and yet he kept moving forward. Pain came, sharp and relentless. Cuts and bruises marked his body. His muscles screamed. But his mind was sharper than ever. He adapted, using wits as much as strength. When he stumbled, he remembered the child. When he wanted to give up, he imagined her small hands reaching for him. In a final test, he faced an arena filled with automated drones, each faster and stronger than a human should survive. They attacked relentlessly. Most would have fallen within seconds. He used every skill he had learned as a wanderer, jumping, dodging, using debris as shields.